can just started. So we're going to be recording this. If let me first accept this. Yeah, so we're going to be recording right now, and feel free to stay on mute while I go through some of the main content here, and then there will be a time we'll stop the recording, and then there'll be a time for like a little bit more talking, and we can do some sharing, just in keeping in mind everybody's privacy and all that. So feel free to leave your video on as long as you're not talking. That won't, your face won't pop up on the recording. So but yeah, thanks Val for the introduction, and I'd like to obviously thank the library for allowing me to be here and do this, and thanks everybody for being here. I'm super excited about this group, and let me go ahead and share my screen. I've got some slides here, so I want to make sure that you can see what I'm talking about as well. But like Val said, I am a leadership coach, and I don't like that version. Let me do a different share. Sorry. There we go. Okay, better. Yeah, so internally, I like to call this content that I'm going to be sharing with you all like the toolkit sessions, giant toolkit sessions. I'll talk a little bit more about giant in a second, and we're going to be talking about two tools today. Hopefully you'll walk away with two really helpful tools. Number one, I like to call, or Giant likes to call, the support challenge matrix, and the second one is called the 5 circles of influence. But before we get into all of that, just a little bit about myself. Hopefully I'll just forecast this right now, that I'm going to be sharing some resources at the end that you can take what we're learning here and extend it even longer. Some of the same tools that I shared with the library back, gosh, that was like back in 2020. So we really hope for you all to be able to stick around and engage with those resources later. But a little bit more about myself. My name's Tim. I'm a Highland Park resident. You maybe see me around Penstock. I'm there quite often, and sometimes on alternating Mondays at Pino's, hanging out with some friends playing board games. But I love Highland Park, and I'm excited to be sharing what I do with my clients, with just the public here. And yeah, this is an exciting opportunity for me, and hopefully it's helpful for all you all as well. So again, this theme with all together now, the idea is that I want to connect you to the tools that will help you in not just the workplace, but also in life and in other relationships as well. These tools have been really helpful to me and to clients that I've shared them with. And we're really going to be talking about just like the foundations of leadership, and these two tools that have really helped me in my own life. In my business, I help people become what I say is high-performing and flourishing leaders. A lot of times with leadership and business, we all think about like high performance. How do we do more? How do we get more out of people? That's what we often think about leadership, but also flourishing, I think, is super important. How do we live together, work together in a way that is healthy as well? And I think these tools will really help us to do that. And I'll just say this, I'm going to say the word leadership a lot. Obviously, that's kind of the lens that I'm coming at you with. But this tool, this workshop isn't just for people who are like managing a team or own a business or like whatever we think of as maybe traditionally leadership, because leadership is not just about authority. It's not just about who's in charge, who's making, not only about who's making decisions. What I like to think of leadership is influence. Can I influence the thoughts and behaviors of the people around me, right? And if what we'll talk about later in following workshops is that influence happens in relationships. So if you have relationships, you have influence, and if you have influence, you're a leader. And obviously, I mean, you signed up for a leadership workshop, so maybe there's something that about leadership that interests you. But I just want to make sure that we all know what we talk about when I'm talking about leadership. So let me just talk for a brief second about Giant, just to give you a little bit of context. Giant is a leadership development organization. I'm certified to use the tools that they've developed. And they've developed what they call the Leaders Toolkit. They're all about building leaders worth following and helping those leaders build more leaders. And so the reason they have what they call the Leaders Toolkit is because oftentimes, you have the people who are promoted into a leadership position are often really the high performers, the people who are really good at their job. They're really good at making coffee. They're really good at writing code. They're really good at, designing graphics. But when they get promoted to leadership and they have to lead a team, it's a completely different skill set. I would say it's probably one of the hardest jobs in the world is motivating people to do things. If you've ever been a leader or a parent or, had to work with people, that motivating people and leading people is difficult. So what they've done is they've created these tools that really make leadership possible for just about anybody. So whether you are just starting out, maybe you're getting into your first leadership position or hoping to be a leader someday, or you've been leading an organization or a team for many, many years, and you're just trying to pass down some of your knowledge and experience into others. That's what the Leaders Toolkit is for. And we're going to talk about 2 of the many tools that they've developed in this session. And then in the following weeks, we'll talk about more and more. So that being said, here's just kind of how it works is these tools are based upon leadership language. So we've probably encountered leadership language. Maybe you've read a leadership book or encountered a quote, an inspiring quote or an informative quote or something like that, right? But we're really interested in language that's going to be objective, meaning that we're measuring the same thing. We're all talking about the same thing. It's common. Again, we're all, when I say something, it means the same thing to you when you hear it. And it's got to be viral, meaning that it can spread and be used by a large group, right? A team, an organization, a community, etc. And what we do is we take that leadership language and we put it into visual. I say we. What Giant has done is they put it into visual tools. So in the information age, we love books. Books are great, but a lot of times what could be even more helpful is having something that is simple, practical, and scalable. So simple, I see it, I immediately get it. That's what's going to be really cool, really powerful about some of the tools we talk about today. They're really simple. Practical, because it's so simple, because I can immediately pick it up, that means that I can use it in whatever context I find myself in. And then obviously, because it's so practical, it's scalable. I can share it with someone else and they can pick it up immediately and use it themselves. And these tools create what we call 100% transformation. So 100% just means like 100% healthy, you're at your full potential. That's what the goal is for these tools. So that is high performance and flourishing performance and health, right? And then intentional multiplication. So again, you can share it with other people. It really allows leaders to be able to multiply their skills into other people. And yeah, that's what's behind these leadership tools is it's leadership language communicated in visual tools that create transformation and facilitate multiplication of that transformation as well. So that's big picture what we're going to be talking about over the next 3 Thursdays. So, hope you can make the other ones as well. But for now, let's just get right into the meat of this one today. And again, like I said, we're going to be talking about the foundations of leadership, hopefully going to, either rock your world and tell you things you've never known before, or maybe just help you to understand the things that you've already known in just a more clear way. So, and by the way, feel free to communicate in the chat. If you've got questions, you can go ahead and put them in there. And then towards the end, when we get to questions, I'll try to scrub through the chat and see if there's any any questions I can answer. If like my screen share isn't working or if I'm going too fast, feel free to give me feedback like that too. But without further ado, let's get into this. And I'm going to start with a little personal reflection here. We're gonna reflect a little bit. And here's the question. What I'd love for everybody to do, and I didn't do this yet, is look around and find like a piece of paper, a notebook. Maybe if you're a note taker, you've already got some. So if you're like me and forgot to grab one, I've got one right behind me. So I'm going to grab that one and go grab that and then come back. And we're going to do this question together. And the question is, if we asked, someone that you live with, someone that you work with, or someone that you lead, if we ask them, what type of leader are you? What would they say about you, right? So if we ask someone, what type of leader would the people around you say that you are? And so you don't have to write sentences. I would just say, go ahead and like write maybe a few descriptors, a few descriptive words, maybe like 6 or 7 words down. If you want to get creative, you can go ahead and write a word cloud, however you want to do that. Just think about how would the people around you describe your leadership behavior. So let's just take a minute to do that. You're not going to have to share it. So, get real honest, get real truthful about all of this. And we'll come back in just a minute. And again, another way you can think about this is, how would other people describe your influence on them? So you don't have to, you can replace the word leadership with influence. Okay, feel free to write down 1 or 2 more. Okay, so here's a just a big word cloud. This isn't any one specific person, but just a bunch of different words that a bunch of different people have used to describe their leaders. And we see a lot of words here. Front and center in the middle is servant leader, right? Encouraging, fun, accommodating, right? Understanding, helpful, right? These are all great things. We love hearing these things about ourselves or about other people, right? But we have maybe some other words that maybe have more of a possible negative connotation, right? So, like critiquer, there's indecisive down here. I was looking at this and I saw another one before. What was it? I forget. Oh, well. But there are some other ones that maybe we're not really comfortable with those descriptions of ourselves, or we know them and it's like, yeah, we know that has not a great effect on people. The takeaway is that, we think of ourselves in a certain way, but we don't have the whole picture, right? We're not always the best judge of what it's like to be on the other side of us. Maybe our perceptions are not complete all the time. So we need tools, we need mirrors, we need lenses to help us see ourselves most clearly. So you may think that you are a great leader, a great influence, but someone else maybe sees something like that they may perceive you as critical or as absent, or maybe even overprotecting, for example. So there's all these different opinions of what makes someone a good leader, or what makes someone a good influence, for example. So the question is, how do we define what a healthy and high-performing leader looks like in an objective way? Again, we need something that's objective, common, and something we can share with others, something that's simple and practical. And that's what we're after with this first tool. So here is, I'm just going to say this as a statement here, and we're going to unpack it. But there's many parts of leadership, but a big part of leadership is learning to balance support and challenge to those you lead. A big part of leadership is learning to calibrate both support and challenge to those around you in whatever context you're in. So support and challenge. I think if you walk away with anything, like those are the two things. So it's helpful maybe for us to describe what do we mean by that. So support. Support is encouragement. It's rah-rah. It's giving maybe resources and finances even. It's instruction. It's training. Right. That's kind of some of the things that would fall under support. It's different for different people in different situations. And then what's challenge? Okay, so challenge is boundaries. It's setting expectations. It's giving constructive criticism. It's, anything that's growing and stretching someone, right? And you probably are saying, man, I really like the one, but I'm not really sure about the other. Like, I really like someone who's supporting. I'm not really sure about people who challenge, or I love giving challenge, but I'm not really sure about, giving support. That sounds kind of squishy, right? Again, I'm going to go back to saying that it's a balance. You do need both. I like to think of support and challenge like sunlight and water for a plant. You need both to be able to grow. But naturally, everybody's inclined to shift towards one or the other. Everyone's inclined to do maybe overcompensate in one area or another. So we overprotect or we overchallenge. And that's the issue. So what does that look like? So what does it look like when someone brings the support but struggles to bring challenge? Maybe you can think of someone who's done this before. They're really encouraging, supportive. Maybe they're running around and doing everything for everybody because they want to be the perfect leader for everyone. They would be so supportive and so caring, but they don't bring challenge. They don't ask anybody to help them. They don't, set expectations. They don't set boundaries, right? So maybe they become burnt out or resentful, and the people around them, they don't get to step in and be involved. But what about someone who brings high challenge but not a lot of support, right? They're just going around maybe giving orders or commands, and they never really come alongside and help and guide and encourage, right? So we can imagine what it's like to be out of balance in each of these situations. So the next slide I'm going to put up is our first tool that we're going to be talking about today. And I'm going to put it up, and what I'd love for us to do is, again, be a little bit more, have a little bit of fun, be a little bit creative, and we're going to actually draw it together. I think drawing it is really going to help us to learn it. And so I'll just put it up and we'll start talking about it and we'll learn about it together. So this is the first tool. It's called the Support Challenge Matrix. So, grab a pencil, grab a pen, and you're going to want to draw an axis like in math class, your XY. And we're going to go around to each of the quadrants. You can label the axes, support and challenge. You can do high support, low support, high challenge, low challenge, however you want to do it. But this tool is so cool, and I'm just going to start to unpack it a little bit as we're drawing it. So the goal is the top right corner there, which is liberate. A healthy and high-performing leader is what I would call a liberating leader. This is someone who brings high support and high challenge, like I said before. And what does that do? It creates a culture of empowerment and opportunity, right? The people around them feel, most alive. They're able to bring their best selves, and they're able to go after things that maybe they didn't think they could on their own, right? That's pretty clear. I think we all kind of get that at some level. So, right, liberate in one of those quadrants. You can write down all the other words too. But high support and high challenge doesn't come naturally to anybody. We all tend to maybe not even so much overdo, but underdo one or the other. So some people are really good at bringing challenge, and they associate leadership with bringing challenge, but they find it a little harder to bring support. So they wind up bringing low support. And you wind up in the bottom right quadrant there, which is the dominator quadrant. Again, high challenge, they're going around setting expectations and telling people to do more and more and more, but not coming alongside and giving them the support and encouragement. What happens is you get a culture of fear. People are doing things not because they want to, because they have to, and a culture of manipulation where, people are using one another because, again, it's just about what we can get out of one another. And by the way, the colors are important too. Green is green is the sign of growth, of success, of go, of money, whatever you want to say. Red kind of symbolizes like there's blood in the water, right? It's a cutthroat sort of environment with a dominating leader or a dominating culture. But then you have on the top left quadrant, the protect quadrant. And maybe you think that sounds like a good place to be. I thought that was a good place to be, but it's really not helpful. It's just as unhelpful as being in the dominate quadrant. This is someone who brings high support, but they really struggle to bring challenge. Again, this is a person who is trying to be the perfect leader for everybody. They're trying to do everything for everybody. And they maybe don't set expectations or boundaries. They don't delegate, for example. And what does that do? It creates a culture of entitlement, right? Well, why do I have to do anything? Because, my leader or my friend or, my parent is just going to do it anyway. It also creates a culture of mistrust where, for one thing, I think that when the leader is just saying, hey, this is good, you're doing great. People know when they're not doing as well as they can. And then also a lot of times when someone is bringing infinite amounts of support, that means that they're really pushing down a lot of negative feelings and comments and critiques. They're just holding all that in, and that gets pushed down, and that pressure builds up over time. And maybe you've been around a leader who just like at one time they were all really nice and good, and then at one point they just kind of snapped and they were just a completely different person. And that creates a lot of mistrust. Oh man, I thought Tim was a chill dude, and now he just yelled at us. What the heck just happened? And that creates a culture of mistrust. I can't really trust what he tells me anymore. I can't trust that he's saying that we're doing a good job. Okay, so that's the protect quadrant. And then you have the lower left quadrant, which is abdicate. Low support, low challenge. The leader's really just absent. It's just not showing up. And what does that create? A culture of apathy. Who cares? The leader doesn't care, so no one else does. And low expectation. And that's the color of gray, of nothingness, right? By the way, yellow, protect is yellow, just kind of like think of like a dead lawn, right? Or just a bunch of dead plants. There's no growth in a protector culture. And then in abdicate, there's nothing. It's just absent. So this is the support challenge matrix. Hopefully you've got it drawn up on your paper, and now you've got your own support challenge matrix in front of you. We're going to come back to it in a little bit, but I just want to take a minute to do a little bit of reflection again. And we're just going to interact over the chat for right now, so you can stay muted. But if you're anything like me, when you saw that matrix, you thought of maybe people in your life, parents, bosses, friends, whoever. And you can think of some examples of people in each of those quadrants. So what I'd love for us to do is just, let's go through each one of them, a little bit slowly. And we'll start with abdicator. And what we're just going to do is, let's say, like, describe what it's like, what that kind of leader is like, or what it's like to be around that kind of person. So an abdicator in this sense, in just like one or two words. So just think of a word that you think encapsulates for this case, the abdicator, the abdicating leader. So like maybe for example, what I would think of is like chaotic, right? Because there's no sort of like leadership or structure. No one's really doing anything. So everything kind of just disintegrates almost, it seems like, right? So let's take a minute, just think of a word. There's no wrong answers here. No instructions. Love that, Ferris. Thanks. Low morale. Yep. Yeah. What else? Boring. Yeah. Places I've worked. Oh man, I'm sorry to hear that. Yeah. Okay, we can do maybe one or two more for these. Checked out. Yeah. Oh yeah. Yeah, you just kind of punch the card and doesn't care. Yeah. Yeah. No caring. Okay. Yeah. So let's go to a protector. Maybe you've been around a protector. Yeah. Providing. Okay. It's providing requirements without resources. Okay. Yeah. I'm guessing that's more. Yeah. Abdicate. Okay. Great. So let's think about for protector, what's maybe like a couple words that we can think of that describes a protecting leader or a protecting culture, protecting environment. Not realistic. Okay. Overworked. Yeah. Protecting leaders are often overlooked. Caring, but no development. Yeah. So yeah, no growth. I love these. These are good. Rules for everything, or everything needs to be approved. Okay, yeah. So maybe like micromanaging, no transparency. That's good. So yeah, someone who brings a lot of high support, but not any challenge. Yeah. Okay, so it seems like people are tracking with this. I'm glad. This is good. Okay, let's switch gears now. Toxic positivity, not motivating. Okay. Whenever I say we're going to switch gears is when I get the last two stragglers. That's good. Answering all questions without guiding followers to think. Yeah. So yeah. No boundary, people pleaser. Yes, people pleaser is something that often gets attributed to protecting leaders. Yeah. Okay, so let's switch gears. Think about dominating now. Yeah, so let's think of some words that describe a dominator. Nitpicky. Controlling, yes. Intimidating, yes, I missed that one. Micromanaging, intimidating, yes, good. Negative, yeah, always pointing out things that are wrong. Undermining, lead by fear themselves, yes. Yeah. Oh, led by fear, sorry. Got those homonyms, yes. No, you spelled it right, I read it wrong. Not allowing for growth. Yeah, and sometimes say, well, it's tough love, I'm giving them tough love, but it's really not growing them at all. Yeah, your way or the highway. Yeah. Great. All right, so let's end this on a positive note then. Okay, so think about a liberating leader. Have you ever worked with or been around someone who just who gives high support and high challenge in that relationship? What are some things that describe that person or your relationship with that person, or kind of like the workplace or environment that person creates? Someone who brings both high support and high challenge. Empowering, inspiring, yes. Yeah. Sees your worth and potential. Yes. Yeah. Let's bring this up for us here. Ability to take ownership. Yeah, ownership's a huge thing because you're challenging people to step up. A mentor, yeah, they make the best mentors. This I think makes connections and provides growth. I like that. Can let go of power position. Yeah, they're not holding on to anything. Caring. Yeah. These are great. I always learn so much when I'm doing these workshops because I get to see from or learn from other people's experience as well. Non-judgmental. Yeah, good listener. Okay, keep them rolling. I'm just going to kind of give us the next assignment, how we're going to process this and unpack this. You should have in front of you at least an axis, maybe written in some of the words to help you as a guide. I love to use the support challenge matrix as I like to think of it as a compass, right? It shows us where we are, right? So we're gonna reflect using this tool and think about ourselves. So we've kind of talked about other leaders that we've experienced, but now we're gonna look at ourselves and think about how do we do with support and challenge. And we're going to use this matrix to plot ourselves. So you're going to find a dot where you tend to be most often. And again, you're not going to have to share this with anybody if you don't want to. This is going to be something that you can be honest. But just maybe you can think about it this way. Rate yourself on a scale of +5 to -5 on how well you are at supporting, you think. And then on a scale of +5 to -5 on how well you do at challenging people around you, right? So go ahead and just take a moment, take a pen and just draw a little dot or a smiley face, whatever you want to do, on where you are most often, most days, maybe especially when you're not at your best. Maybe for me, I'm probably right here at this T in the high support, low challenge quadrant in the protect. That's where I tend to be. Again, you don't have to share, with us right now, but I just wanted to go first and lead the way in vulnerability there. But yeah, I really struggle with challenge sometimes. Yes, yeah. So sometimes we can be in different places. So if it really helps, you can draw like 2 dots and connect it with a line, or if it's 3 dots and or connect them with a triangle or whatever. Yeah, but just plot yourself where you tend to be most often. And as you're doing this, one of the really helpful things with plotting yourself is, I know, for example, for me, I'm in that T right there in protect. We're in the high support, low challenge quadrant. Now I know I can use this tool as a compass and say, okay, I know that I need to be more intentional about bringing the challenge. So I can figure out, what do I need to do to correct in different situations? So I need to set boundaries, to set expectations, to not withhold critique or comment when it's going to help somebody, right? So this is one of the powers of this tool. Okay. And guys, we're only halfway done. Hopefully this has been really helpful and really engaging so far for you all, but we've got one more tool to use that I think dovetails really nicely into the support challenge matrix. So we're gonna press pause on the support challenge matrix for now. Hopefully you've kind of plotted yourself, you've drawn your support challenge matrix. You've already, I know I've seen you all kind of chime in on what kind of leaders go in each quadrant. So I think we have a good understanding of that. Now we're going to introduce our second tool, which I said is the 5 circles of influence. So again, we're going to draw it together. So hopefully you got your paper in front of you. It's a little bit more involved because you have to draw concentric circles, and if you're a perfectionist, you'll be here all night. So just go ahead and make them a little bit sloppy if you want. But there's 5 circles here, and we'll go through labeling them in a second. So go ahead and draw those circles. And then on top, we've got the word intentional. And on the bottom here, we've got the word accidental. What does that mean? I like to think of intentionality and accidentalness as, imagine you're on a river, like with a kayak or a canoe or a paddle boat, right? And this river's got a current. Being accidental is like having your oars, your paddles in the boat, and you're just letting the current take you wherever the current takes you. You'll get places, but it just might not be where you want to go, right? That's being accidental. And sometimes we're just accidental in certain areas, but like we're just letting things happen because it just what comes naturally to us. And we have, consequences, accidental consequences as a result of those things, right? On the other hand, intentionality is like taking those paddles or those oars out and putting them in the water and rowing, right? That's what it means to be intentional. It takes focus. You're gonna find a point that you want to go and go in that direction, right? It's gonna take effort, right? If anyone's been canoeing before, you know how much effort it is to get the boat to move. And it's going to take discipline, meaning you're going to have to continue and keep paddling over time, especially if you're paddling upstream, right? It's going to take a lot of effort. So that's what intentionality is about. Focus, it's about discipline, it's about effort. And the 5 circles of influence asks us, how are we showing up in each of these 5 areas of our lives, each of these 5 common areas? There's many areas of our lives, but we can kind of use these as a guideline for us. So I'm going to go through each of them. So hopefully you've got your concentric circles, and that first one in the middle, the bullseye there, is the circle of self. So you can write that in the center. And I said this, actually, I don't know if I said this before, but I'll say it again, is that everyone leads at least one person, and that is themselves. So how you lead yourself makes a big difference. How do you show up for yourself? Are you accidental? Do you kind of just wake up in the morning, roll out of bed, rush out to work, grab breakfast on the way and do whatever you need to do at work, and then come back home, and then, you're just letting life happen to you kind of thing? Or are you being intentional? Are you taking the time to do the things that are good for yourself, whatever that is? That's, mind, body, spirit, whatever. So that's the circle of self, the difference between being accidental and intentional. Then that second circle is family, and we define family in a lot of different ways. Some of us, have, biological family. Some of us have like a found or a chosen family. Some of us are really close to our roommates, maybe. Whatever family means to you. Are you intentionally doing things, spending time, getting to know them, getting that quality time and getting to understand and know them? Or is it just, showing up, passing them in the hallways, for example, and maybe avoiding one another, right? That'd be kind of more of the accidental. And then we've got your team, the group of people that you're with most often when you're doing, things that are productive, whatever team looks like for you. And then organization, right? So maybe you're not leading an organization, for example, but maybe you are, a team member. You still have an influence on the organization that you're a part of. And there are many different organizations that we're a part of. So, team is a maybe smaller subset of the larger organization. And then that final ring there is community. So your neighborhood, your neighbors, that can turn into civic engagement. It can be volunteer groups. It can be religious organizations, right? All of that stuff is wrapped up in community, okay? So those are the 5 circles. And hopefully you can kind of start to imagine what are some of the ways that you can be accidental or intentional in both of those ways. The last thing I'll point out, actually there's 2 more things I'll point out, is number 1 is this arrow that goes from the circle of self outwards. And that is because it's kind of like a ripple, right? The things that you do in that circle of self is going to ripple out. I like to put it this way: you cannot give what you don't already possess. You have to put your mask on before helping the person next to you on the airplane, right? You have to take care of yourself first. And then kind of the flip side of that coin is that you can only give what you already possess. So if you're hoping to give to the people around you out of an empty cup, it's not going to happen. So that's why we need to, and then the last thing I'll point out is this idea of, the whole circle is green, but there's different shades of green, and the deepest shade of green is in the middle. And if you think back to the support challenge matrix and all of those colors there, green represents high support and high challenge. So we really need to make sure that we're supporting and challenging ourselves, and then that support and challenge will ripple out into all of these other areas of our lives. The catch is, though, that, again, support and challenge doesn't come naturally to anybody. So we're going to be maybe different colors in different areas. So maybe we're, red, we're dominating, we're bringing high challenge in the circle of self. We're really hard on ourselves, right? Or maybe you are overprotective of your family. You're just trying to protect them and do everything for them so they don't learn and grow. And maybe you abdicate at work. I don't know. And you just don't show up there, right? So to your team, you're abdicating. So that would be a gray circle. So that's the reality, is when we default to our maybe accidental tendencies, we wind up with all different colors all over the map here, right? So what I want to do is, let's take some time to process that. I think I've talked quite enough here. I think we all get it. Hopefully you've gotten the circles in front of you. So what I'd love for us to do now is just think through, which quadrant do you fall into by default? So if you've got like colored pencils or like crayons or something, or a marker nearby, maybe that would be really helpful, is you can go in and actually color in all of those circles. Or maybe you can just write in like dominate, liberate, protect, abdicate for yourself. But here's what we're going to do. Go through, let's just take the first three circles: self, family, and team, at least those three. And if you want, and you have time, go ahead, go through organization and community as well. But just think like the last 7 to 10 days, last week or so, how was I showing up to the people in this circle of influence? How was I showing up for myself over the last 10 days? How was I showing up to my family? How was I showing up to my team, right? So just to forecast, hopefully you're starting to think about that now, but we'll do that, and then we'll actually stop the recording, because I'd love to hear some reflections after we take a pause here, just to get some feedback, to get some participation as we get ready to close. So we'll go ahead and stop the recording now, and then when we come back, I'll be opening up for people to come off mute, say hi, and maybe share some of their takeaways. So that'll be what we do. But for now, what I want you to do is think through the circles of self, family, and team, and think about that support challenge matrix. How am I showing up for those circles? Am I liberating? Am I protecting? Am I dominating? Am I abdicating? All right. And if you have any questions there, feel free to hop into the chat and ask, and I can try to address those. But let's just take a couple minutes to do that.